Bling bling. What's up, guys? We are back. Another update on Project SPL as it's sitting here collecting all this dust. As we showed in the last video, new windshield's in. It's drying up nicely. It's actually been up and in for several days now. I'm giving it plenty of time to dry. I just came in and got a lot of the inside cleaned out. Yep, sorry it's dark. Still a bunch of trash and glass in here from the last blown windshield, but got most of the junk and stuff cleaned out so I can get in here and start working. That's coming in the next update. But for now, this video we're installing, and you'll know this if you watch the channel regularly. I showed it at the end of the last video. Line driver, RCA distribution box, also known as a cock box, and gain matching. Getting all the amps gain matched perfect, as well as getting these installed. So the RCA distribution box, also known as a cock box, this comes from Scott Bowman Customs. That's why you see the SBC logo there on the side. And he did what he could for me just from pictures to try and match the paint. He got it pretty good. It ain't perfect, but it's right there. It's real close. I'm happy with it. It looks awesome. I mean, I'm hoping this comes across on camera. This thing is beautiful. Now, if you don't know what the point of one is, so this is what's up. See these inputs here on the side? So basically, as signal comes from my head unit, and it comes in here to the back of the truck. Before, what I used to do was just a bunch of these things, the whole bunch of Y splitters, and I had them everywhere, just splitting all throughout, all behind in here. So all these are coming out. Well, not all of them. Most of these are coming out, and we're changing to this. So as the signal comes from my head unit, travels up my pigtail here, gets into the truck, it's gonna plug in here, and this is my input. All these other, here you see on the top, those are outputs. So then I will be taking single mono cables, like you see here. I'm trying to get this all in camera, and I'll be running a single mono cable out from the distribution box, and it will go to each of my amplifiers. And then each of the amplifiers, and I'll get in here close, will still have one Y splitter on each one. Now, I do that just because me putting still a Y splitter at each amp and only needing one mono cable is easier than running a bunch of 2 channels. And let's be honest, this is bass, this is sub frequencies, there's no left and right, there's no stereo. There's only a mono signal anyway. So you don't need a true left and right or anything like that. It makes it easier on the distribution box as well. So what I've got this set up for is right now I have 8 amps. So I'll be using 8 of these outputs. Now I got 4 extras because potentially, and I've said this on the channel before, in the future I might change from 4 subs to 6. And when I go to 6 subs, I'm probably gonna add 4 more amps because I'm running 1 amp per voice coil, and I'll have 12 amps back here. So I got 12 outputs. Now if I ran a typical 2-channel style RCA, that means I would need either 2 of these or one twice as big. I would need 24 outputs at that point, and there's just no need for that. Run a single cable, it's easier. And honestly, these single RCAs, they're kind of cheap. Even though I do have to add a Y on the end, the Y splitters, they're cheap too. So if you haven't seen them, here we go. A little bit of dust. But here you go in the package from Sundown Audio. Yep, we sell mono cables. Try and get y'all out of the glare here. And they are super nice. Here's all your info on the back of the box. Give y'all a shot of that. So yeah, so to start getting this installed, they're gonna be getting mounted over here. We're gonna get them screwed in, plugged up, hooked up. Once that happens, we'll be cutting everything on, going through and checking each amp, gain matching them. So stay tuned. Give me a second to get all this put on, and then we're gonna start gain matching. Be right back. All right, it is all installed. Not difficult work at all. Screwing the boxes in, plugging the RCAs. I mean, I guess the hard part is just running wires back and forth. And then of course my line driver needs power. So my lazy way of getting power for my head unit, my line driver, I just tap into my power inputs right here. So I have easy access to these. It ain't pretty, but it works. So I'll give you a close up in here. Yep, just mounted right here to this sidewall. No, I'm not worried about any vibration or anything. This build's pretty solid. So it's all mounted, all the RCA's hooked in. If you didn't see, there's 4 that are longer. So I'm running 4 3-foot RCA's on this side to junction over real quick, and then 4 6-foot that are coming out of here. They're twisted together, run behind this amp tucked away, and they pop out down here where they split off to these 4, because all my amps alternate. One this way, one that way, and such. So they're all split up. But now, let's jump to it. Moment of truth. Did I get everything right? So we're gonna cut the head unit on. I'm hoping line driver cuts on with it. All that's good. And we're gonna turn it up. And then we can begin the gain matching process. So head unit on. Let me just turn the volume down just in case. Amps are on. Our line driver's on. And we do have a little bit of noise. Hold on. I think I might know what it is. But I'm gonna shut everything down first. You know what? I'm gonna leave this live. So no turn off pop, little turn off pop. Let's see if this is what's doing it. So since the truck's sitting, I usually throw a charger on it to keep it maintained. Now the truck's running, so there can't be any engine noise, but maybe somehow that charger is introducing noise. So let's try this again. Also, keep in mind, it is just a big rat's nest of wires back here, so I might be getting a bunch of random noise from some of this other stuff. So, all right, charger's off. We're back on, and yep, we do have some noise. Can you hear it? I might have to do some troubleshooting and track that down. All right, guys, what's up? We are back. I was able to fix my noise issue. Of course, I got just a complete cluster bleep of wires in here. So, yeah, I had some wiring issues, got them sorted out. It got late that night when I got everything put in. I was already here till about 8:30. Got the noise sorted out. So it is a new day. So if you notice, I'm wearing a different shirt. It is a completely new day. Super busy with all the things going on at the shop. But everything's good now. Cuts on, plays, no noise. So time to gain match. All right, when we're gain matching, one really important thing, and only tool we really needs a DMM. Good DMM that can read. But remember, you're going to be reading AC voltage. So set your DMM to your volts AC, your AC voltage, because amplifiers, they take in DC, but they put out AC, completely different. A lot of people don't know that. So I'm gonna set my DMM to read the AC voltage out, and then basically this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put my head unit on. For me, I'm gonna put it on my burp frequency. Since this is an SPL build, I burp at 60 hertz. I'm gonna put a 60 hertz tone on, put it on repeat, and just let it keep going. The volume isn't very important. Just put it at a low volume, not crazy loud, something you can sit and maintain without your voltage falling off, going real crazy. So I'm gonna put it on a 60 hertz tone, play it on repeat, and I'm gonna go through and I'm going to read the AC voltage output of all of my amplifiers. And I'm gonna take note of exactly what it is. Then, and there's 2 ways you can do this, but you can either have all of your gains set all the way down and then turn them up to match, or you can turn all of your gains all the way up and then turn them down to match. I prefer having them all the way up. So right now, all my gains for all 8 amplifiers are wide open, maxed out. Just to note, and this doesn't matter with gain matching, but the gain on my line driver is all the way down. So all my gains wide open. I'm gonna go through at just the low volume. I think I have the head unit set on volume 10. I'm gonna let it just play on repeat. I'm gonna track what my voltage output is for every amplifier. I'm gonna write it all down. Then I'm gonna pick the one that's the lowest. So take the lowest one, that's gonna be my baseline. I'm gonna go back to all the others that are above that, and I'm gonna back my gain down just a little bit to get them all to match. So give me just a second, because I don't want to make the video crazy long. I'm gonna just make a little note, write everything down, go through, turn these back. Be right back in just a second. All right, guys, I preemptively went through and got some of my baseline stuff down to help speed the video up. But let me show you on camera what we got going on. So, cutting everything on. Let me turn my knob down. So, I got a low volume set. I'm at volume 10. I'm playing 60 hertz. Frequency wise, it's not super important, just as long as it's a frequency that's within the bandwidth of your playable capabilities. So if your setup loves 40 hertz, play 40 hertz. If it loves 30 hertz, play 30 hertz. It doesn't have to be your peak frequency. Matter of fact, your peak and all that's really irrelevant, just as long as it's a frequency that your setup plays fine, that your crossovers aren't interfering with, anything like that. If you're using an SPL setup and you're doing this, just play your peak frequency, like I'm playing 60 hertz, you're good to go. So I got 60 hertz on repeat, volume's low, I'm only at volume 10. You're gonna hear the bass kick in. So my knob's all the way up. I'm set to AC voltage output. We're gonna read the AC voltage output right here. So I'm just gonna touch my outputs real quick. And we're reading 3.1 volts, as we can see right there. All right, so pick another amp. So I got my top amp, my output's on this side, real easy to get to. So let's see what kind of output we're getting here. And we're getting 2.8 volts. Let's turn that down for a second. All right, so right now I have an amp that's at 3.1 and an amp that's at 2.8. So the 2.8 is the lowest I've got of all the amplifiers, and I went ahead and did a little preemptive stuff here to make this faster. So 2.8 is my lowest voltage I'm seeing at this volume. Everything else is even and all. So what I'm gonna do is take my amplifier that's reading a little higher, it's reading 3.1, and I'm simply gonna dial it back. So to set up for this, I'm gonna stab my wires so I don't have to sit here and hold it. So I can just leave the leads connected. I'm gonna turn my volume back up. And then I've got my handy little loud tool. You can get these at DVS Designs. They're real handy for sliding in and adjusting crossover settings, gains, things like that. They are perfectly 3D printed to fit it in there exact. They're really, really cool to have. So my track's still on repeat. Let's turn this back up. And again, we're at the 3.1 volts. So all I'm gonna do is go in and just slowly back that gain back. Come on. If I can get it in there. Oh, bitch. There we go. So 3.0, 2.9, and bam, 2.8. So now we're at 2.8 volts. And just to be sure, real quick, I'll go back here to this top amp. Touch it. And same thing, 2.8 volts. Let's turn that down so we're still even. Now, I always do this at a super low volume to start, because if you do this at a high volume, adjusting one amplifier can make differences to the others if the subs are getting a lot of back pressure from one another. So if you have multiple subs, multiple amps, they can interfere with others. So it's always good that once you change one, go back and check them again, make sure everything's still even. Typically doing it at a low volume, you don't get a lot of, I don't know what to call it, you don't get a lot of change where if you change one thing, it can affect something else. At high volume, I have noticed that a lot. But I do also recommend, and I'm gonna do this here, but I don't wanna make the video crazy long. So now that I've done this at a low volume, I'm gonna turn the volume up, I'm gonna go a little louder, I'm gonna go back, just spot check a few, make sure there wasn't any changes, maybe go a little louder, check it again. All right, so one last thing I want to show you before I end this video is I talked about why I like having a line driver with multiple amplifier setups. So we just went through, showed you the gain matching. So low volume, all my amps are gain matched. They're all set, they're all identical. High volume, they stayed pretty much similar. Everything's good to go. Here's the advantage of having a line driver. I don't need the extra voltage. That's irrelevant. I don't expect the line driver itself installing to gain any score, any SPL, nothing like that. The big benefit is the ability to fine tune just so much easier. And so basically here, let me just jump into it. So we got everything set. We're still at the volume 10. I got my 60 hertz track on repeat. So we turn it up. I've got my lead stabbed in this back amp, and we're exactly where we matched everything to, 2.8 volts. Now, I'm gonna do this at low volume to simulate it, but say I do a burp and I don't quite get full potential out of my amplifiers. So say I'm at volume 40, and that's my max volume I wanna be at, and I don't quite get full potential. Say I'm off just a little bit. But if I try going up in volume of my head unit, either my head unit starts to clip where I might need more output voltage on the pre-out side, or say it where if I want 100 volts of good clean output voltage from my 7500s, if at volume 40, say I'm at 95 volts, but at volume 41, it jumps to say 110 or 115. Say I get a pretty good jump at that one click in volume, and now I'm clipping and it's hurting me. So what I'll do is I'll keep my burp volume the same, volume 40, my max volume I want to be at, and I'll come in and I'll barely bump my line driver just a little bit to try and get basically fine tune a kind of a half step between them volume clicks. So let's just show you. We turn it up. And again, I've got my 2.8 volts. So now I can go and I can adjust my line driver. And now I'm at 3.5, 3.6, 5 volts, 4.9 volts, 6.6 volts. And when I do that, when I adjust the line driver, it adjusts all 8 amps simultaneously. So instead of having to go through and try to fine tune adjust each amp out of 8 times trying to fine tune adjust it for full potential on a full tilt burp where I'm checking it every time, and at those loud volumes, like I mentioned earlier, adjusting one amp can throw other amplifiers off, other voice coils off. They're all matched, they're all good to go. I have one knob, one setting. I can turn up, I can set, get everything dialed in perfect down to that last little millivolt I need on my output side. All right, so that's it. Time to wrap this video up. Hopefully I didn't flub up those explanations too bad. Sometimes I'm just really horrible about explaining the little details of things, even though people say I talk too much. When it comes to super technical stuff, I don't know. I don't get into the super technical aspect. Usually I can dumb it down. Hopefully I dumbed all that down enough for you, showed you in the video, made it easy to understand. Let me know what you think in the comments. Any more questions, put them in there. I will read the comments, try and answer everything I can. If I need to make a whole new video, I will. So put your comments in there, your questions in there. I'll get back to them. Meanwhile, as you see in the background, I still have a ton of work to do. We leave in just a few days, We're actually leaving Thursday for finals, so I only have a few days left, and I am nowhere near being done. So more videos to come. I will be videoing all this. I'll be showing everything, building the loading wall from scratch, doing the roundover work, everything, tuning it in, all the term lab. I'm putting it out there. The clamp power, the scores, board by board. We're gonna dial this in, we're gonna track it, we're gonna find out what's loudest and what works best. So that's coming in next video. Stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, tees. Get all your favorite Sundown tees, ProjectSPL tees at sundownunofficial.com. Lots of other cool things, from the decals, the lanyards, the koozies. Adding a few little things here and there. We've got the heat shrinks. These things have been selling like crazy. The Sundown Audio heat shrinks. Those are available on the website. Make sure you like and subscribe. Put your comments, questions, anything. Let me know. And yeah, let's wrap this up. So until next time, guys. We'll see y'all then.